This is the Patriots Drive Podcast.
We are all Patriots.
Where we discuss, analyze, and answer questions to all things happening in the NFL and with our New England Patriots. Now, here's your host, Cole Kelly.
Let's go!
What is going on, Patriots Nation? This is the Patriots Drive Podcast. Guys, today we are joined by the best Patriots reporter on Twitter. Okay, this is Los Talks Pats. This is Carlos. We got him on here, and then, of course, we're joined by Cole as always. So we got a trio going on here today. We're going to talk about the Matt Judon trade. We're going to talk about the Patriots preseason game 2. Then we're going to get into some of the Elliott Wolf comments from his presser today. So got a bunch of stuff to talk about. If you guys are on Carlos's Twitter, welcome. This is the first time we've been there, so you guys can jump over to YouTube and comment there. If you guys are on YouTube, make sure you go to Carlos on Twitter at Los Talks Pats and follow him because he really does have the best, most up-to-date news. So, but without further ado, Carlos, how are you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. I've been watching you guys for a long time. You guys have seen me in the comments. We've interacted and everything, but it's pretty cool being here talking to you guys. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to talk Patriots.
Carlos, one of the OGs from the chat,
Yeah.
doing great work over there on Twitter. I mean, your page is awesome. Notifications, everybody need to turn those on because, I mean, just always best updates. You got videos, tweets, just anything you could ever find Patriots related on the internet. Carlos has it all in one place. So definitely go check him out if you haven't already.
I forget what post it was during the game too, but I think it was the Javon Baker or the Keyshawn Booty catch is what I think it was. And you posted a video of it. Literally, it said it was posted 20 seconds ago, and I had maybe watched it 40 seconds ago. So I have no clue how you got it so fast. And maybe my stream was delayed a little bit because I was just on YouTube TV. So maybe I got back a little bit, but I was like, holy crap, he got this so fast and uploaded it. So yeah, the best, most up-to-date news. So we're excited to have him. But let's jump right into this, guys. Couple days ago, we had some news, right? There's been contract negotiations going on with Matt Judon and some crazy rumors going on there. You know, he was going to hold out. He was going to hold in. He came to practice one day. He had a talk with Maye out there at training camp one day also. So we finally got the answer. Patriots traded Matt Judon to the Atlanta Falcons for a 2025 third-round pick. Cole, I'm going to ask you first, and then we'll throw it to Carlos. But what are your thoughts on the whole trade? What are your thoughts on what we got in return? Obviously, Judon's going to be missed, but kind of just break down the trade to start.
Yeah, I mean, I just think a third-round pick, would you like to get more for a player of Judon's caliber? Like maybe a second-rounder? That'd be awesome. But realistically, where you are in the offseason, Judon making it very clear to the outside that he does not want to be here without a new contract. I think a third-round pick is probably about as good as you're going to get. I think it's good value. I know a lot of people thought maybe a 4th, 5th rounder would be what's coming back in a trade for Judon at this point. So I think getting a third round, especially from the Falcons, who there's a lot of question marks on that team, who knows how Kirk is going to be coming off this Achilles injury, and new coaching staff there. So it could end up being somewhere in the mid third round. That's not bad value for the situation that we're in with now a 32-year-old edge rusher who coming off 4 games and a season-ending injury. I think overall you got to be pretty happy with the return. It stinks to see a guy who has been such a big pillar of the Patriots since Tom Brady was gone. This guy was the voice of the locker room in a lot of ways, a lot of energy. He wasn't necessarily as vocal of a leader in the locker room, but just shows it on the field. And his presence, his juice, and what he brought to the team is definitely going to be missed. And it's going to take a village to fill his shoes for sure.
Yeah, I mean, everything you just said, I couldn't have said it better, to be honest. But I will say the thing that really shocked me about the trade in general was that I had been telling people for like months now that I was convinced they'd only get like a 4th at most. So the fact that it was a 3rd, and you bring up like the timing of it, I think that did play a factor. Like if they traded him early into the offseason or like around draft time, maybe they could have gotten a better draft pick. But just him being 32, coming off a season-ending injury, and getting a third-round pick for him, that's what kind of made me feel better about it, because I'm not too confident in their pass rush right now. We'll see. I know the preseason game just went really well. They got a bunch of sacks and everything like that, but I'm just not too confident in it. So if you can supplement that with a top 100 pick, sure. Like that's that makes it seem a little bit better. But yeah, I think the timing of it is like the biggest thing as far as like value they could have gotten. But yeah, I think as far as like leadership too, he was like the voice of the locker room, even though he wasn't a captain. It was the only reason he wasn't a captain. He even said it is because he doesn't show up to like off-season training and all that. He
That
trains
felt
on his
weird.
own.
Felt weird him
Yeah,
not
yeah,
being captain.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So he even admitted, he's like, I think if you're a captain, you should be showing up to off-season training, and I'm not going to do all that. I vividly remember him saying something along those lines. So it makes sense that, why he wasn't a captain, but hypothetically he was. And he was the face of the organization for the last 3 years, 4 years. So it is a big thing or person to lose, but I'm okay with the trade because of the value they got.
Yeah, and I think that two things that I wanted to hit on is obviously this is like the face of the franchise right now. Obviously Drake Maye for the future, but right now, like, it's really Matt Judon, right? The red sleeves was so iconic. You guys said it, the locker room presence, what he is for the fans, throwing with them before games and practices and stuff. That's going to be missed. That is really going to be missed by the Patriots fans, the Patriots organization. But I agree. I think that this trade was too good to pass up. They had 2 third-round picks on the table. Chicago was the other one offering it. They chose to go with Atlanta's because they think that they're going to be a little bit worse, which honestly, I can agree with. Caleb Williams looked dang good week 1. They have all those offensive weapons, and they have a great defense there. So maybe 35-year-old Kirk Cousins is going to struggle coming off of an Achilles a little bit. So it's not bad to think about it that way. Now the Patriots have for sure 4 picks in the top 100. Right now, they're slated to have pick 2, pick 34, 66, and then 84 is where it's slated for Atlanta based off of preseason odds, stuff like that. So they have 4 top 100 picks, which is dang good value. The only other team that has a little bit more value than them right now is the Carolina Panthers, and that's because they're probably going to be picking the number 1 overall pick again. That's just off a tankathon, right? But you have opportunities, right? That 3rd round pick can be moved for another 1st round pick. If you want to pair, hey, let's pair a 2nd and one of our 3rds and get back up into the 20s. Hey, let's move our 3rd and a 4th and get back up into the 2nd round. So now you have more ammunition in the upcoming draft to move up because, you still need an offensive tackle. Depending on how the receivers come along, you might need them. You're definitely going to need to draft a young edge rusher because depending on what Josh Uche does, you might need to get him replaced. So I love the trade. I think it was best case scenario. People saying they would have gotten they could have gotten a 2nd round pick, I think is very ambitious because if it was, it would have been like San Francisco at pick like 62. Like they weren't going to get a high quality 2nd round pick. So this trade right here was, a home run in essence of what we got back. And the fact is, he doesn't even go over there and sign a contract. Atlanta didn't even have a contract in place for him, and they might not have a contract in place for him. So that's the other crazy thing that, we haven't even talked about.
I would say if you had a contract already attached to him, that's where you might be able to get that 2nd round pick value. If he was 30, 31 and still had 2-3 years left on his deal, maybe that's where you get that. But yeah, I think third round pick was best case scenario. And like you said, for those reasons, whether it's trading for a wide receiver 1 in the offseason, trying to go get the dream, get CeeDee Lamb, or whether you're trading up back into the 1st. I think those are both great uses of that pick. So sucks to see him go, but at the end of the day, this team is focused on the future, and a 32-year-old edge rusher is not really in the plans for that.
Yeah, exactly. And then personally, I view like the pick they got too, not necessarily as like a replacement, like they're just going to pick someone to replace Judon with that pick. I view it more of like an asset that they're going to use it for something bigger, like how you guys mentioned, like whether it's a trade up or even if it's involved in a trade for, the wide receiver they've been looking for. I do think that's the main reason why they got it. I might be wrong, but I do view it as more of an asset.
Yeah, and just real quick, like not to take anything away from Judon because he was awesome, but you also have to kind of factor in with his age, his entire tenure here, he was incredible, like defensive player of the year caliber the first 8 to 10 weeks. And then after that, you started to see, okay, he's gone 3 weeks in a row without a sack. And then he gets 1 or 2 sacks in a week. And so the consistency started to fade kind of as the season went on. And it wasn't necessarily just on him. Maybe it's teams game planning for him more. But I don't think that gets better with age. And he missed almost a whole year last year. And our defense was one of the best defenses in the NFL without him and Christian Gonzalez. So I think they're that obviously has a lot to do with Bill Belichick and just the mastermind that he is on defense. But I think this defense can still be okay without Matthew Judon at his current age and contract situation. So not to say that he wouldn't help this team or he's not an incredible player, but I just think it makes sense to not extend him, give him $20-something million a year for the next 3 years. Just get that 3rd round pick back in value. He's happy. He's going to a new place, and it is what it is. He might not get that contract, so he might not be super happy yet, but I think it's a win-win for all parties involved.
Yeah, and Old Man Mob here says Bears would have done a 2nd round pick if Judon was worth a second. He corrected that in the comments. They'd have 2 2nd round picks, right? So yeah, Chicago has their own 2nd round pick and a very early 2nd round pick due to the Panthers. They're not trading the Panthers pick. So that if New England knew they could have gotten a 2nd round pick, they're not going to say, hey, we're going to take this 3rd round pick. So they'd been shopping him. You heard the reports. I know Carlos had reported it. They were lightly shopping him once the whole contract thing kind of happened. And so they knew what his value was. And I'm sure this was the tip of the iceberg. They probably didn't want to get a player back, whatever it was, whoever they're offering. So they're just like, hey, let's take the 3rd round pick. That's a day 2 pick. It's a top 100 pick. It's a really good option. So, but I wanted to ask you guys this. We'll start with Carlos here. Obviously, Matt Judon is a huge loss, but I do think there are guys primed and ready to step up. We've seen it in the preseason games. We'll talk about it a little bit more, but what do you think, or who do you think is ready to step up? Who are you looking for to replace Matt Judon? You're not going to replace him 1 for 1, right? You're not going to find a guy that's going to have his impact, but who are a couple guys, or who's one guy that you maybe have your eye on the most to replace Matt Judon in his production?
So personally, I'm pretty positive when it comes to the Patriots. I usually have a positive outlook, but I do worry about their defense after they traded him. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I just think that the Barmore situation affects it a lot. And you just lost your 2 best pass rushers essentially. And because of that, I am worrisome about how they're going to look. As far as like replacements, O'Shane Ximines is the first person that comes to mind. Even though he wasn't anything great on the Giants, and it kind of worries me that, people are just seeing someone do decent in preseason training camp, and then come season, he's not really going to be that impactful. Like we've seen it a lot with Patriots players in the past, that we hype them up in the preseason and then nothing ever comes of it. So I'm a little weary of it, but obviously the main one is Keon White. Everyone's really excited about him. The thing that worries me about him is that I've noticed, and everyone talks about it, he has like one special move, and that's just the bull rush. Like that's all he does. Like he doesn't, have any bend, or he doesn't really like do anything special in a way. And I just want him to develop more pass rush moves and see him develop more as just like a pass rusher rather than just someone that's like stronger than everybody on the field. But he would be like the most obvious one to replace Judon, or help replace him. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm a little weary of it. We'll see how they can do, but I just think those are the 2 main, or as far as like O'Shane Ximines and Keon White would be like the 2 main pass rushers to replace him. And I know I haven't mentioned Uche because he worries me as far as like injury history. He's on a 1-year deal. He's been like in and out of practice. He like played into the 3rd quarter of this last preseason game. I don't know what's going on with him. So yeah, that's why I'm not going to rely on him too much.
You don't typically see that from a guy who's going to contribute heavily during the season, playing into the 3rd quarter, which I thought was odd. I mean, he really didn't have much of a role last year, but you would think that with Judon leaving, he's your best pure pass rusher on the outside. So I figured some combination of Keon White and Josh Uche would be kind of how you would do that. But I agree with the Keon take there. Just he does have that bull rush, but he doesn't have nearly the arsenal of tricks that a Judon does, that a Uche does. He's just physically he's a monster. So definitely if he can, and you got to remember, like he hasn't been doing this as long as necessarily some of these other guys where I think he transitioned in college, right? He was tight end before.
Yeah. He was tight end at Albany or something. I forget where he was before. He's at a small school, and then he went to Georgia Tech.
Yeah. So he's got some good physical tools, If he can work on that bend and he can work on widening the bag of tricks he's got up his sleeve, that would be helpful. And it's certainly a good year to do it. He's going to get plenty of reps to try to work through that and work that out. So I would say those two, you're going to have to mix and match them depending on the situation. But I just don't think you're going to get that nearly the same production as just Judon by himself. But there's ways around that, as Gerard Mayo was talking about, how you can do different stunts and scheme it up defensively to generate pass rush even without an elite pass rusher. So I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll be okay. But I just think if you're looking at this through a long-term lens, it's hard to be upset at that third round pick. Because there's no world in which they're competing for a Super Bowl this year unless Drake Maye is just absurdly talented and takes a huge jump from what we've seen so far. And then you see Javon Baker and Jalen Polk turn into wide receiver ones. Like, something crazy would have to happen for the Patriots to be anywhere near that level team this year. So I'm okay focusing on the future, and there definitely are some concerns this year up front. But I think you're going to have to use your defensive mind and then use a couple different guys to try to scheme up pressure and replace his production.
And I think it's a little more worrisome because like you mentioned, Christian Barmore's not there. So now you have two of the best. Well, you do have your two best pass rushers out, and one of them hopefully is coming back, next season, maybe at some point this season. But there have been guys I've been impressed with. Jeremiah Farms has created 6 interior pressures from the defensive tackle spot. He's had 1 sack. Like you said, O'Shane Ximenez, maybe he has a spot on this roster now. He leads the team in preseason with 2 sacks. I get Josh Uche has injury problems, and I really wonder if he's ready to be like a number 1 pass rusher, because when he had his great season, it was because Matt Judon had his great season too, so a lot of the attention went to him. But I think that Josh Uche brings something that Keon White doesn't. Like you said, where Keon White doesn't have much of the twitch, Josh Uche does. He can get around blockers. He can use his speed. So there's guys like that. And then you look at what they did last week in the preseason game. You saw Raekwon McMillan get a couple of snaps on the defensive line. Are they going to use him in a unique pass rushing role right there? And that's something that we'll have to wait and see. So there's guys there. And then Amfrey Jennings was also a dude that kind of stepped up towards the end of the year last year. But it goes without being said, not one of those guys single-handedly can replace Matt Judon. It's going to be by committee. It's going to be using stunts. And it's going to be things like that. So I don't want to say I'm 100% confident in these guys. I think there are guys that are primed to step up. Josh Uche should be the most motivated he's ever been. He's in a contract season where he signed a 1-year deal, taking less money for the Patriots because he wanted to be here. And now it's his time to go out there and, earn that bag and earn the number 1 pass rusher role. So hopefully he does take that step, and then Keon White continues to develop, and you have some other guys like that. So I'd be really excited to see how some of those guys work out, but it's going to be hard to replace him no matter what. So let's answer this question right here by Ken. He says, how do you think the impact and loss of Judon will affect the defense, and who's the next man up? Obviously we talked about Keon White. Is this really going to make that big of an effect, Carlos, since this is coming from your Twitter? Well, is it I get it. We're not going to have the most sack production in the league, most likely, but this doesn't drop the defense from to bottom 10 in the league, right? Like, this is one player. We still have Christian Gonzalez. We still have guys. As a whole, the defense is still going to be really good, correct?
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction when it all happened, I actually got into a back and forth with someone on Twitter, and they unfollowed me because of it. I said that they wouldn't be a top 15 defense anymore, and that was very me just off a whim, just initial reaction. Now that I've thought about it more, I've seen them play. I regret saying that, but I do think they will be around that 10 to 15 range. I just think that the lack of pressure they're going to get, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they do a bunch of stunts. They're able to get pressure. Someone steps up, but just on paper, if they don't get as much pressure as they've normally gotten in the past, the secondaries, they're going to have to rely on it a lot. And that leads into more, maybe we'll talk about it later on, but that leads into more so Christian Gonzalez. He's been pretty shaky. Jonathan Jones, Marcus Jones, they've been hurt. And it's no one else has really stepped up in place of them, or any of the younger guys in the CB room. So it'll be interesting to see the way the pass rush affects the rest of the defense, because that's the best way to, stop a drive, just pressuring the quarterback, taking away one area of the game. So I do think it's going to impact it a lot. Like I said, I would imagine they'd still be top 15 in the league as far as like a defense, but some things would need to go their way for that to happen. It just can't be like everyone just plays how they normally do. Like, so people have to step up.
Cole, your mic's muted. Cole's the rookie on the show.
Oh, jeez. I was
Just
going to say, if they were going to be a top 5 defense with Judon and Barmore and Gonzo, I don't think it's that crazy of a take to say that they're going to be closer to the 10-15 range, just because losing both of those guys is huge. I mean, that's like you said, your 2 best pass rushers, your 2 most impactful guys on that D line. I'm trying, Edward. So I don't know. I don't think that's crazy. I think they're probably going to be closer to the 10-12 range, like you said, and you got to factor in losing Bill Belichick as well. Like that's got to be a factor. So I would agree with you, Carlos. I think somewhere in that 10-12 range is more likely if you're saying that Barmore is not going to be back this year. If he's going to be back, I think you're probably closer to that top 10 defense, but you're in that 7-10 range. I think it's going to be tough for them to be top 5. I'm hoping that Gonzalez's struggles has been him working through different things. Like he talked about, he was working on some different things throughout camp every day. So hopefully he's just trying to work on some of these things, but I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned. We saw great flashes from him year 1, but we only did see 4 games. So there's still a lot to learn about this kid. So it's a lot of things up in the air right now, a lot of question marks that we weren't expecting coming into this season.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good defenses in the NFL right now, right? You got like the Texans, the Raiders, the Steelers, the Ravens. I'm just going down a list, and this is all who was ranked above the Patriots before the Matt Judon trade. So the Niners are up there, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Jets, and then the Browns. And so you still, like, with the Matt Judon on the roster, Bleacher Report still had the Patriots as the 11th best defense. Now, I don't think that bumps them back to 20th or 21st. It might move them back to 14, 15, but they could easily get to 10 with the emergence of Josh Uche, with the emergence of Keon White, with the emergence of Christian Gonzalez continuing to develop. So I think that there is definitely a way to get into the top 10, but it would be, hey, all these guys we have high hopes for have that sophomore jump or have that season we're thinking, and it's a really dang good defense. So that would be, where I see this defense falling, probably the 12 to 15 range. It's going to be hard to generate pass rush. We don't have that one guy. You think of all those teams, the Browns, Myles Garrett, the Cowboys, Micah Parsons, the Steelers, TJ Watt. Yeah. I mean, you look at all those teams I just mentioned, they have one, if not 2 guys that you're like, hey, they can get to the pass rusher, and they're elite pass rushers. And right now, as of this second, the Patriots don't have that. So that's where the biggest thing is. But let's move on to the game. Let's go through winners and losers. So we'll start with winners. I'm going to throw it to you, Cole. I want you to share one winner, and then we can give our thoughts, and then we'll go Carlos, and then I'll give my winner, and then we'll see if we have any more. So preseason game 2, Patriots lose 14-13, crazy game. We got a lot to talk about, but who was a winner for you, Cole?
I mean, this might be too obvious for some people, but Drake Maye. The fact that he got so many snaps, and was his stat line fantastic? No. But a lot, like, not only just watching it live, but then watching some people's film breakdowns and stuff. The QB School did a great 30-minute video breaking down every single play that he had. So I'll check that out if you guys haven't already. I thought he just looked great. I mean, he made some really nice throws. Obviously, the one to Javon Baker down the field, 55 yards. I mean, just right in the basket, right where you want it. Great throw. I thought the screen pass was a great play call in general, and he had a couple other throws where one of them he was like spinning, turning away from pressure in his face, and tossed it off to the back on it for a check down. And then Baker coming across the middle, 15 yard play for a first down on 3rd down. There's just a lot of different good throws. He showed a lot of different tools that we were all excited about coming out of the draft for him. He had the read option for a 5-yard touchdown run, just showed his mobility. I think he showed so many different things to give Pats fans a glimpse of like, okay, this is what we're going to be looking forward to in the future. This is what we're excited about, because you hadn't really seen much of that unless you went to training camp or unless you're seeing some of the videos online, you didn't necessarily see all those flashes. So I'm glad that he had that day. Hopefully it leads to more reps with the first offensive line and with the first unit in general, because I think this kid deserves a chance to compete for that QB1 spot. I don't think it's going to be the beginning of the year, but hopefully a month in, 2 months in, he can take over. And it's hard to see him having a path for that if he doesn't get those opportunities with the ones.
Carlos, you have any thoughts on Drake Maye's week 2 performance? We finally got to see extended drives. He got 4 drives. What were your thoughts there?
I mean, he's a clear winner. It was like no hate against Mac. Like I liked the guy and everything. I never
Mac's
bashed
ballin'.
on him. At least not like, yeah, he is. Like I never bashed on him. Like maybe not crazy, but he just watching Drake Maye, it kind of like made me realize like, wow, we haven't seen like a true NFL arm or like true NFL like athleticism in a couple years now. Like from a quarterback. And even going back to Cam Newton, like that was like he was a shell of himself. And just finally being able to see like this is what our 21-year-old rookie QB that has like a cannon for an arm with like agility and athleticism, like this is great. Like he's ours, which is crazy to say. So hopefully he can develop. But yeah, like you said, Cole, it was a clear winner. He was the clear winner of the game.
Drake Maye makes a 60-yard bomb look more effortless than a 10-yard like in route from Cam Newton. He made that look so hard. Every time he threw it, he looked like he was giving his whole body to it. So, yeah, it's definitely quite the contrast. And then Mac Jones, we all know how that was as far as the arm talent goes.
A part of me wants to see Mac Jones get traded to Minnesota because with Justin Jefferson and Kevin O'Connell, I think he would be really freaking good. And it would prove that, hey, this guy could have done it in the right system. Not that I want him back because I love Drake Maye and he's going to be better, but a part of me is like, dude, this dude's balling in Jacksonville and he's got a good offensive scheme and stuff. And if the rumors were true and he went to Minnesota, he might ball out even more.
Well, I mean, what did we say? We talked about it on the podcast many different times. If he got drafted to San Fran instead of Trey Lance.
Purdy. Yeah, he could be
Lance
doing what Purdy is doing as well. Yeah.
Yes, I think he would have been taking that team deep in the playoffs as well. Like, maybe even won a Super Bowl by now, which is crazy to say with how bad he looked here. But I just think, I don't know. It's not all on the Patriots. Like at some point, the player factors in as well, obviously. But they just really didn't do that kid any favors. So yeah, I'm rooting for him. I like Mac. He seems like a good kid. So
yeah, I wanted to hit on this because after looking at Drake Maye, right? Did you see a little bit of the footwork issues? Yes, the Kayshon Boutte throw was off target. There was one to Javon Baker over the middle of the field, which I personally thought could have been caught still. It was on like a 5-yard hitch. But like you said, Drake Maye was 6 for 11 for 40-something yards. He could have easily have been 7 for 11 or 8 for 11 with 100 yards. If Javon Baker makes that one throw, if he's able to stack a corner because the 2 throws along the sidelines were good throws by Drake Maye. It just happened to be he was pushed out of bounds by good coverage by the corner. So yeah, I think Drake Maye was a clear winner. You saw the athleticism. You saw him be able to score a touchdown in the red zone on just a simple, it's 3rd and goal. It's a simple little QB read option, right? And that's what he brings there. And when stuff broke down in the pocket, he was able to move around. He was able to run for a 5 or 6 yard gain and do good things with his feet also. So yeah, it was a great week there. The one thing I want to say, and this isn't even on Drake Maye, but this is what really made me mad about the game. I know I texted you, Cole. In the second quarter before halftime, when they had a chance to take a timeout with like 30-something seconds left and they didn't, that infuriated me because the opportunity for Drake Maye to have a 2-minute drive in game with 2 timeouts, yeah, maybe nothing came out of it. Maybe they don't get a field goal, but he could have worked the middle of the field. He could have worked the sidelines. He would have been able to do anything he wanted with 2 timeouts and get game reps at a 2-minute drill, and Gerard Mayo decided not to take it. That was my one thing that I was like, what are we doing here? This is something we have to get our rookie quarterback, because you knew he wasn't going to play in the 4th quarter. So you knew if you had a 2-minute drive there, you're going to throw him back out there for that? Probably not. So I was really upset about that 2-minute drive that Gerard Mayo didn't give him a chance, because I would have loved to have seen how he operated there. But yeah, he made some great throws. The first third down conversion he had where he goes 1-2 on the right and then throws back to Javon Baker over the middle of the field on a dig. Great throw, made it look effortless. And then, yeah, just moving in the pocket, stepping up and throwing like a 55-yard bomb to Javon Baker right on the money, which should have been caught, I'll say, but the ground kind of popped it out. So great game by Drake Maye. I was really impressed there, and hope to see more of that week 3. And we have heard that he has been running with the ones a little bit, so hopefully he gets a little bit more run time with the ones in preseason game 3, because I think that would really help his draft or his stock and how he looks out on the field.
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick on that 2-minute thing, the way they managed that whole 2-minute drive was just weird. And like you said, there was 30 seconds left when they could have taken that timeout after that play. But before that play, there was 55 seconds left on the clock, and they could have taken a timeout there, but they let him run it down all the way to 30. Then they ran the play, and then they just ran it out. So it was just like, I agree. I think I know we texted about it, but you had an opportunity there to have Drake Maye with at least one timeout and close to a minute left with the ball back. Just let the kid get the experience. It's great experience to get. So yeah, I thought that was weird.
Yeah. So let's answer this one too, Carlos, and then let's go to your first winner. Just quickly, do either of you guys think that Jacoby Brissett or that Drake Maye has a chance to start week 1? Will this next 2 weeks force Gerard Mayo's hand, or will Jacoby Brissett just be the week 1 starter? I personally think it's going to take a ton from Drake Maye. You heard the comment today where Elliot Wolf said that CJ Stroud's rookie success is an anomaly. I think they want to be patient with him, so I don't think they're going to rush it. So Cole, give me your quick response, and then Carlos, give us your first winner after that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It just seems like coming from the top down that there's a mindset, Elliot Wolf, the Packer way, all that stuff. They're okay with these guys sitting. I think their philosophy is, we're going to sit you unless you show us something crazy otherwise, where we should reconsider that take. So I think you're starting to see some of those flashes from Maye, like we talked about, where it's like, okay, maybe this kid deserves a shot to at least run with the ones and see where it goes. And also, I think Jacoby factors in here a little bit, where he hasn't been great. Like, he threw the pick in the preseason game. He almost threw a second pick. It got tipped in the air. He hasn't been fantastic in practice or in the games, where if they were okay with Maye starting, I think he has the talent to start right now and be better than Jacoby, I think, week 1. I don't think they're going to start him week 1. They haven't given him enough opportunities with the ones. You're just starting to see him go through walk-through snaps with Drake Maye with the ones. I just don't think there's enough time. There's less than a month until the season starts, and unless they really kind of fast-track things and start flipping the script quick and letting him get even reps with the ones as Jacoby, I just don't think there's going to be enough time. But I would love to see it. I don't think that's their thought process throughout the development.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you. I think it's going to take a lot. Gerard Mayo did point out, I don't know if it was yesterday or 2 days ago, but he said that the biggest thing that he wants him to work on is how fast he goes, like gets in the huddle, gets them out, says the play, gets them set up. He wants the whole, just the function of the offense. The operation, that was the word he used. He just wants it to be quicker. And I think if he does fix that, I don't know if that's going to work out in like 2 weeks, or even maybe in the preseason game. Who knows if he just has like the fastest operation time for a rookie QB. I don't even know if that's a thing. Yeah. But if he does fix those things that Gerard Mayo specifically pointed out, I do think there's a chance, but I don't think it's like likely. I will say, Cole, how you brought it up, I think Jacoby factors into it too. He was playing pretty good towards the start of the training camp, practices. He was clearly the better quarterback, but now you're seeing a lot of like Drake Maye had the better day, or both quarterbacks were like on the same level, or Drake Maye did this really good play and Jacoby threw an interception. You're seeing a lot of that now. And also, I think injuries are going to play a big factor too, because Jacoby hurt his hand today. And I don't know if he, maybe it was just like a little stinger because he finished practice, but the fact that he kept they said that he kept flexing his hand and like
Yeah.
shaking it. Yeah, like maybe something comes of that, and he doesn't even play in the last preseason game, and Drake May just gets like a very extended run, and he just plays lights out, and everyone is like, we can't sit this guy. That could happen, but I do agree with both of you. I think with Elliott Wolf at the top of everything, like they want to go Packer way. He's going to most likely sit at least for half the season or the first, I don't know, 2 months of the season. We'll see. I don't want to get into all like the how long he'll sit if he does play, but yeah, it would take a lot for him to have to start week 1.
He's got to be back week 5 when Brady comes.
Yeah, that would honestly, yeah. I mean, maybe they plan it out like that.
That'll be fun.
But as far as my winner, I actually chose Kayshon Boutte because he's not like, I don't want to say he's doing a bunch of stuff to like really stand out. Kind of like like how Drake May played, like some highlight plays. It's more just how consistent he's been. Like you hear that he's been like the most targeted player at training, like during the training camp practices, and then come game time for the preseason, he's been like pretty involved, and he's been reliable. He made that really good catch to save Drake May an incompletion. Like I said, it hasn't been necessarily like highlight plays, but the fact that you constantly hear his name, and in the game, I'm pretty sure he led all receivers with catches or targets, one of the two. But yeah, I think that he has been making a push for himself to make the roster. So any little production he can get and pretty much lead all the receivers during the preseason, like he did in week 2, I think it's going to help him. So I would put him as my winner.
Yeah, and I mean, the stats back it up. He's been targeted 10 times in the 2 preseason games. That's tied for first most other than Javon Baker. He leads the team in receptions also with 6, so he's catching 60% of the balls thrown to him. He's been really good. He had that one really good one-handed catch. You heard about the day in training camp where he had 4 touchdowns. In my mind, he's a roster lock. Like I talked about it the other day on the Pages Roundtable. I think he's a roster lock. I think that he has proven he's on this team. I would rather have him over Tyquan Thornton. I think that he's proven that he has more, consistency to him. And once he figures out the off the field stuff, he's had a much better offseason than he did rookie year 1, right? When he was coming off of all the things that kind of forced him to be a 7th round pick. So I agree. I think he's been really good. I've been enjoying watching him because I think if you take him, Javon Baker, Jalen Polk, and Demario Douglas, you have a young core of 4 really good receivers. And then once Kendrick Bourne gets into the mix, he's obviously the vet of the group. But I think that those 5 guys can be really good and can develop Drake May or Jacoby Brissett a lot. So I've loved watching and hearing, that Kayshon Boutte is, because I've said this before. This guy was a projected first-round pick before his senior or his last season at LSU. Like he had a coaching change and he had some off-the-field issues. This guy's got all the talent in the world. He had like 300-plus yards one game against Mississippi State. His freshman season at LSU, he did it consistently in the SEC. So he has all the talent in the world, and I think we're starting to see flashes of it. So I do think Kayshon Boutte has been a big winner also.
Yeah, Carlos, I think the word you use, consistency, is great for describing his play, because like you said, every single week we've heard about him. And he just kind of shows up. Like you haven't seen a lot of necessarily negative plays, like not a ton of like huge plays, but he's just consistently seems to be creating a little bit of separation, at least enough to where he can get the ball. And I just think that's a lot more than we've seen from some players in the past, and him in specific. So I do like that as a up. It was not anything super crazy, not anything super flashy, but he's just been steady.
Let's go to do you have anything else on Kayshon Boutte, Carlos?
No, the consistency. That's like the main thing. He just has to keep it up. Maybe preseason, week 3, he goes for 5 catches, 50 yards, and that's good enough for him, in all honesty.
We'd love to see it. So moving on to my winner, I'm going to throw in 2 guys here because I want to talk about this as a whole. Caden Wallace, Layden Robinson are 2 rookie offensive linemen. I think that first off, we cannot survive with Verdarian Lowe at left tackle. So Caden Wallace and Chuks Okorafor need to battle it out on the left side. I don't care who it is. It needs to be one of them. I think that it needs to be Sidney Sal at left guard, David Andrews at center, Layden Robinson at right guard, and move Owenu back out at right tackle. I get it. Michael Winu might be an all-pro offensive guard, but I would rather have Michael Winu and his consistent play there than have two revolving doors at tackle, because I think Verdarian Lowe would get either Jacoby Brissett or Drake Maye killed. He has not been good at all in the preseason. So I think that it's been very refreshing to say, hey, Layden Robinson's been really good on the interior. And same with Caden Wallace. He's shown that he can hold up on his own. They've both only allowed 2 pressures. Verdarian Lowe has allowed 3, 1 sack. And so it's been like, hey, we need to find a way to get these 2 rookies on the field, because I think that they're a part of our top 6, and one of them needs to crack the top 5. So I know that Caden Wallace took a couple left tackle snaps. He's played mostly right tackle in the preseason. Same with Chukes Okorafor, but one of those guys needs to battle it out on the left side, because man, that left tackle has been so scary. And I think that we have a better offensive line combination than what we've been throwing out there in the preseason.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with your take on Verdarian Lowe. I don't know who would disagree if I'm being, maybe honestly, Elliot Wolf. Yeah. I think he would be the one to disagree. But yeah, Caden Wallace and Layden Robinson in particular has been doing really good.
Yeah.
I think it was after the first preseason game, Gerard Mayo said something like, yeah, he needs to work on a lot of stuff still. And a lot of people were saying that he had a good game. So it was kind of contradicting like what people were seeing. But you can't really argue the fact that the second game of the preseason, he had a really good game. He did have on that Baker deep bomb, he did get completely
pressure.
Like, bull rush. Yeah. That was like a rough one, but yeah, he's been doing really good. Caden Wallace has been holding up on the right side, but I do agree they need to give him reps at left tackle. I don't think he can be any worse than Verdarian Lowe. And even if he is worse, that's your 3rd round rookie. Like, you invested a lot into him. So it's like, let him go through the growing pains. Let him try playing that position, because he hasn't played that position. Like, I don't know why they keep throwing out a guy that I think they traded like a 7th round pick for him last year, right before cuts or right after cuts, something like that.
Yeah, Minnesota, right? Did he come from Minnesota or something?
Yeah.
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then they had him playing right tackle. Now he's playing left. I think they just need to give up on that experiment. He could be a good swing tackle, maybe their best swing tackle. Maybe he beats out Calvin Anderson, but give like Chukes Okorafor and give Caden Wallace a chance at left tackle. So I know I got into it a little bit more about the left tackle conversation, but yes, Layden Robinson, Caden Wallace, they've been doing really good.
Yeah, and that run blocking tandem of Layden Robinson next to Michael Winu on that right side, jeez, that would be something. So that would be
mountains, bro.
That would be fun to watch. The only thing that some people I have heard mentioned is I think Michael Winu's playing at like 350 right now, which is a lot, I guess, for the AVP system for a right tackle. Yeah. So I don't know if that factors in. Maybe he can lose a little bit of weight over the next month. But I don't know. I at least think it's worth a shot. Like, why they've done so many different O-line combinations. Why not just throw those 5 together, give it a shot for one practice, see how it goes. If it's awful, toss it. If it's not, build on it. So I don't know. Michael Winu's shown that he can play right tackle at a good level. I know he's elite as a guard, and that's obviously, if you had a right tackle and a left tackle already, you can throw on Winu at guard, and you got a top 5 guard in the league, and you're good. But I just think with how bad things have been at certain spots on this O-line, you got to give some of these young guys a shot and give them a chance together as a unit to build. Next to some players, like being surrounded by David Andrews on your left side and then Michael Winu on your right is a little bit different than some of the other combinations that they've been playing with as well. So I think it'd be good to give it a look at least, and just what's the worst that can happen.
Yeah, and Jalen Polk said in an interview that they have told people and they have made it clear that they want to run the ball.
Yeah,
Layden Robinson is a much better run blocker than pass blocker. Now, he still can pass block. He only allowed 5 hits and 10 hurries in college last year, and now only equaled 1 sack in the SEC. But this is like you said, he's a mountain of a man. He ran a 4.4 20-yard shuttle, which was in the 99th percentile. He's really long for his size. He almost has 34-inch arms when he was at the combine. So he can get out. He can move. He brings a little bit more offensively in the run game, which I think would be a little bit more value to the Patriots right now. And yeah, like you said, we know that Michael Winu will be a very consistent and a very good right tackle. So I think that it would be I guess I'm saying I would be kind of shocked if they don't make a switch there, and I would be a little upset because what we've been putting out there, not that Chuks Okorafor has been bad at right tackle, but it's been so bad at left tackle that I think they got to move him and Caden Wallace over to that side and let them battle it out there, because you can have your top 4 guys from City South, David Andrews, Layden Robinson, and Michael Winu. You just need to find who that 5th one is, and it definitely ain't Verdarian Lowe, I can tell you that. So I mean, maybe it's Chuks Okorafor at right tackle, and maybe it's Caden Wallace at left tackle, and they keep Michael Winu in there, and Layden Robinson just continues to develop. I'd be fine with that, but then you kind of have, hey, like Chuks Okorafor has struggled a little bit. He's been highly graded on PFF and stuff, but he's given up a little bit on pass rushes and in the run game and stuff. I think it was like the first or second run of the game. He gets beat by the defensive end, and luckily Antonio Gibson was able to make him miss in the hole. But yeah, so I think that there's a better offensive line combination than what they've been throwing out, and I hope that we see it in game 3, or hope that we start hearing that they're kind of messing with that left tackle position, because it would be a crime, and we might have to report a murder of a quarterback if they leave Verdarian Lowe out there, because he will get someone killed. He has been very bad.
Yeah, at least Lowe. That spot needs to be addressed. Like,
Yes,
at least that. But yeah, I agree with what you said.
So, okay. Do we have any other winners, Carlos or Cole? Any other ones from preseason game 2 that we want to talk about?
I have 2 that come to mind. I won't go in depth with them. Raekwon McMillan, we mentioned him earlier. He was all over the field, laying big hits and special teams too. He was playing on the edge. I think he's for sure a roster lock. He's performed really well. The other winner is Joey Sly.
Yeah,
I think he has earned himself the kicker spot. They gave him both field goals. I think it was 2 field goals, right? During the game, they gave both of them to him. One of them was a 51-yarder.
Mm-hmm.
Chad Ryland dreams about doing that. I don't know. I don't know if last time we saw him do that. So those would be the other 2 winners, Raekwon McMillan and Joey Sly.
Well, and we talk about how effortless it was that Drake Maye threw that 50-yard ball. The kick, the 51-yarder by Joey Sly was so effortless and right down the middle. We've seen Chad Ryland kick those last season way far left. He was pulling them. He has the leg, but he's been inconsistent. I also said this on the Patriots Roundtable the other day when I was doing that. I think that it shouldn't be a competition anymore. Like, I get that they still want to let Chad Ryland get some kicks, but
Was he a 4th round pick?
Yeah, I mean, he was, and we traded up for him, right?
Yeah.
So, but if we don't give the job to Joey Sly, then you're pretty much saying, hey, we need to get within the 20-yard line for this to be a very comfortable field goal, because then that would make it a 37-yard kick. And, but he's just been so inconsistent outside of there, and Joey Sly hasn't. And I would rather have a guy that's going to be 90% from 40 and out, and maybe, 60% from 50, even though he did make that one look really good. But yeah, it's got to be Joey Sly, in my opinion. So I agree with that. He has been a winner.
Carlos, you got to suit up. You're going in to kick. You're going in.
Yeah. Old man Mob did say this. Chad did do his job last year. He did get us Drake Maye.
Yeah.
With the giant missed field goal in the Giants. So
that's fair. I want to throw out 2 other guys real quick. Teacher Wise, both games, his limited snaps, he's been good. And then David Wallace again with another big return on the kick return. So he's just kind of been doing his thing out there on special teams. So I wanted to throw him in there as well.
That's actually really good. I want to talk about this for a minute because I shouldn't have forgot about this, but I did. David Wallace and Jalen Reagor are having a heck of a battle for who's going to be kickoff returner. I think eventually it's going to be Reagor because he provides a little bit more offensively.
Yeah.
But both of them are elite. Like, both of them have an average kickoff start position of like the 32 and 33 yard line. David Wallace had a 53-yarder. Jalen Reagor's only had 1 return, and it was out to the 32. And so they've both been really good, and that's a huge weapon, especially in this new kickoff format. If they can hit it and they can make guys miss, you're going to have a lot of really good opportunities to start with the ball past the 30, 40-yard line. So I agree. That position battle has been really fun to watch, and I'm really comfortable with either of those guys. I just think eventually it comes down to Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, I think that Wallace is going to find a home somewhere. I do think I agree with the passing, the receiving upside, I guess, with Jalen Reagor. But I mean, the kid's showing some flashes, so he's earned himself a roster spot somewhere.
That it might be like the Braxton Berrios situation a couple years ago,
Yeah.
where he's good, but you let him go, he just gets picked up by someone. Like, I don't think you find a way to get Wallace on the P squad. He probably would get picked up, like you said. Someone would find a spot for him, but yeah, they've been really fun to watch. So, any other winners? Carlos, you good? You shared yours. Okay, I'm gonna run a quick ad break, and then we can get some water too. My throat's getting dried up, but we're gonna run a quick ad. It's like 30 seconds. We'll come back with some losers from the game.
Thank you to our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. With Underdog, you have a chance to 20 times your money in a single night. You just have to choose higher or lower for whatever player stats you want, and you have a chance to win big. Pick anywhere from 2 to 5 players by downloading their app or going to UnderdogFantasy.com. And now with their pick'em insurance, you don't even have to hit on all your picks to win the money. So what are you waiting for? Make sure you use code PATCHDRIVE today for your first deposit matched up to $100.
Yeah, guys, it's NFL season. If you guys like daily fantasy, if you want to compete in a league with some of us, we can set that up. But if you want to just do pick'ems or whatever, make sure you use code PATCHDRIVE. Your first deposit will be matched up to $100. We also have one more sponsor. It's SeatGeek. Guys, if you want to go to a Patriots game this year, use code PatriotsDrive at SeatGeek. You will get $20 off of your purchase. So if you guys want to go find some good tickets, see Drake Maye or some of these rookies in action, you can also use code PatriotsDrive at SeatGeek, and it supports the channel. We really appreciate it. Make sure if you guys haven't, you guys go follow Los Talks Pats on Twitter already. We appreciate him being here if you want your Twitter updates. And then, of course, if you guys are on Twitter, flip over to YouTube. It's Patriots Drive. Hit the like button, subscribe. We'll have Carlos on more for sure. But let's jump into some losers here. Let's start off with you, Carlos. Who was a guy from preseason game 2 that maybe didn't perform as well, or that you think is maybe on the bubble for making the roster in general?
The one that really stood out that I don't even know if he's going to make the team is Marcellus Dial.
I was going to say that.
I think he gave up 6 receptions. And not even like, I don't want to go outside of just the game, but even today, if you saw the updates from the reporters today at practice, everything was like, this person got like this really nice catch over Marcellus Dial. This person got this touchdown with Marcellus Dial in coverage. I don't know what's up with him. We didn't hear much about him beforehand, but he's stood out in a bad way. So he really struggled. He was my biggest loser from the game for sure.
I think every time I looked up at the Jumbotron after a play, it was on him. It was like, what is going on? Every single play. And they were just attacking him. It was like anytime there was a 12-yard catch, it was always Marcel style, like it just every time. So I definitely would have to agree with you there. He was one of my downs as well. I have one that I don't know if it's going to be controversial or not. I think it's going to upset Jace, but do you have anything on Dial?
Well, I thought this comment was funny. Dial is like Miles Bryant 2.0, Jermaine says. So, but no, I mean, it's already kind of a uphill climb because I think that the defensive backs was pretty set, right? Marcus Jones, Jonathan Jones, Gonzalez. I think that Marco Wilson, Alex Austin have played really well. And so I do agree. I think that he's losing a little bit of his roster spot. Isaiah Bolden provided a little bit more than he has. They originally said Marcellus Dial might be a better safety, but the safety room's also really crowded. So he hasn't performed well. He doesn't have any favors going for him because of how deep the defensive back room is in general. So I agree. I would say he was a loser, but go ahead. Upset me, Cole. I don't even know who you're going to say, but let's hear it.
Siobhan Baker.
No, I mean, I'll share my thoughts. You go ahead.
I just thought overall, and it wasn't even so the eye test in general. He obviously had that big drop. Like if somebody drops a ball, you're not going to go on the downs list. Like it wasn't just because he had that big drop. Obviously, that was a big play. He just consistently, anytime he was running a go route, he was just getting driven out of bounds on the sideline, and like there's just it was rough to watch. Like going back and looking at it, and another thing on that QB school video, it was the same thing. A lot of the different routes, he was like, this guy just looks slow coming like throughout the route. On that pass that it looked like Maye was inaccurate on that like hitch from Javon Baker, where the two defenders were like closing in on him. The QB school guy thought he ran the wrong route because of the concept. The guy on his right side, Baker's right side, was running a slant, and he just said you wouldn't pair that slant and hitch together. It wouldn't make any sense. So he thought Baker was supposed to run a slant, and he kind of stopped his route because he didn't want to get hit by the linebacker, and that's why Maye kind of led him a little more. So it was just a combination of possibly a couple different routes run incorrectly, just bad go ball routes, a few drops. He just didn't look great. It wasn't a ton of separation. Even on that one play across the middle on third down from Drake Maye, he jumped in the air to catch the ball that probably would have hit him right in the chest anyways. Like, it was just a kind of a weird game from him where I didn't see a whole lot of great things. It was just kind of a lot of like, why'd you do that? Or what the heck was that? Like,
Yeah.
Now, am I concerned about him in general? No, I think he can bounce back. I think he has all the drive and motivation to do that. You saw him post on his story the picture of him dropping that ball. So I don't know, but also the Javon Baker hype train has slowed down from early in camp, where he was like, "Oh my God, he's making a catch here, like he's making all these crazy plays." We haven't seen that as much over the past couple weeks, so just something to keep an eye on there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think that he was a winner. That's for sure. It was really good coverage by Keely Ringo on both those go balls, right? Pushing him out of bounds. But that's also what Javon Baker needs to learn from. He made rookie mistakes, right? Like, you need to stack that receiver, and you need to preserve, or the corner, and you need to preserve the sideline, because those were good balls by Drake Maye, and they were catchable balls if he stays in bounds and he doesn't get forced to the sideline. So I agree there. The drops are a little concerning. He did have 6 drops last year. He had a 10.3% drop rate, which we all knew he kind of had that coming into the season. But he's an explosive receiver. He had a down game. I mean, I don't think that his roster spot is up in the air by any means. I think he's been targeted the most other than Kayshon Boutte. They both have 10 targets. He only has 4 receptions, though. Drake Maye seems to want to get the ball to him a lot. He targeted him multiple times. They trust him. They know what he can bring. So I right now, I guess I'd say he's bringing me some Devontae Parker vibes, but I think he's better than Devontae Parker. I don't want to give him that comparison because I don't want to jinx him or whatever, but that's what the game looked like game 2, right? Like, hey, this guy creates separation, but he also got pushed out of bounds, or, he had these drop problems. So if he can get over it, which I fully believe he can, I still am a huge Javon Baker fan. I think he's going to be a dang good receiver for the Patriots. It's going to be fun to watch him, but I agree. This was a little bit of a disappointing game. He didn't go through OTAs because it was the thumb injury, correct? I believe that's what it was. And so maybe it's catching up to him. Rookie mistakes are coming. And again, he did go up against some pretty good corners and a really good defense in the Eagles, even though they did sit out most of their starters. But he was still going up against guys that were, NFL caliber dudes. So he needs to figure it out. He needs to work on it. But like you said, he posted the picture. He wants to work. He's not afraid of it. He's not shying away from it. And I believe he will bounce back. So I hope I can, or hope I'm not wrong, because I really do love watching him. And I was so excited when we drafted him in the first place. But yeah, it was a little disappointing in game 2. So anything to add to that, Carlos?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with him being a quote unquote loser for this game. Just like you said, a weird game, lots of mistakes. And like in the QB school video, he pointed at, like, it was kind of funny because he kept saying, like, yeah, I don't know what number 6 is doing here. Like, he just kept referring to him like that. Yeah. So he did have a lot of mistakes. Hopefully they're just rookie mistakes. They're growing pains. Think about it. It's only his second time playing against NFL, like on an NFL field. So we'll see how he bounces back from it. Yeah, I'm not too worried about it, but yes, he did have a bad game.
I don't think he mentioned like any other receiver in that video. I think he just kept number 6 again. Like, what is he doing here? I was like, oh God.
Yeah. But I'll throw in a loser. I don't want to talk about Verdarian Lowe anymore because we all know he was the loser. He was the biggest loser, and we already kind of talked on him. I thought it was a little interesting. Armon Watts. He kind of looks like he's getting passed by Jeremiah Farms and Tristan Hill. He played late into the game. This was a veteran guy who's really known for kind of his run-stopping ability in the middle of the defense. And with Christian Barmore not being there because of blood clots and not knowing when he's going to come back, you would think that he kind of has a very favorable line to the 53-man roster, but not anymore. Jeremiah Farms providing pressure, being there, Tristan Hill. So maybe they're looking to pass up Armin Watts, a guy that the Patriots signed a little late in the offseason, so hasn't gotten much reps with the team, but a veteran guy who's probably looking on the outside in my opinion, just because of how how deep he played into the game, and maybe it's more related to the performance of the other guys, because Jeremiah Farms and Tristan Hill have done a lot and they have stood out in the preseason games, but he to me is kind of a loser just because he's getting pushed down the roster.
I'm going to throw on there as well, and all three out of the 4 quarterbacks, Jacoby, Milton, and Zappy. Jacoby threw the pick, just not super sharp. Joe Milton was, I don't even know how to describe him. He's
a loose cannon.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. It's just like running the wrong way on the bootleg, but then making a great throw, but then it wasn't caught. It was like not great from him. 2 for 7, 20 yards. And then Bailey Zappi, just for still being on the roster, that's a down for me. So not that
whoever is making that choice is he's down.
So that's the last 3 that I'll add as well to that list.
Yeah. Anyone else, Carlos?
The last 2 that come to mind, like more bottom of the roster guys, I would say Antonio Maffi. I think he barely played.
Yeah.
And even when he was on the field, he gave up a pressure right away. So we'll see what happens with him. I don't even think he's making the team. The other one I will say is Azizi Hearn. I know a lot of people don't talk about him. He does get a lot of reps with the first team defense, or he's rotating in with the first team defense at practice. And even during the preseason games, he'll be out there with the starter sometimes, but he had a really bad game. He was around the ball a lot, but not in a good way, because he was giving up the catches. So we'll see what happens with him. But yeah, those are the 2 that come to mind for me.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree with those guys. And like you mentioned, probably guys that are going to get cut, but I mean, they're going to be making roster cuts. So, okay, let's talk. Last thing I kind of want to hit on. This was a tweet from Carlos again, guys. If you're not following him, I'm sure most of you already are. So go follow him on Twitter. 53-man roster cuts are coming up. Carlos, this is what Elliot Wolf said today. Due to the Patriots roster needs and them having the 3rd highest waiver priority, there's a chance the team will be very active during roster day cutdowns. So Reese suggests that claiming roster-worthy players from teams that don't have room for depth is likely. Now, there was also something shared. Elliot Wolf said this. He said, our scouting department right now, all they're doing is grinding through the preseason film, watching players, talking to other teams, seeing who might become available. Having the 3rd claim spot is a good advantage, will be aggressive, I think. So first off, you shared a couple of thoughts via photos of who you think could be a guy the Patriots could target if they do get cut. So maybe who would be your number 1 or 2 option there? And what do you think about the Patriots being aggressive for some of these guys because they have one of the highest waiver priorities?
Pat Mahomes.
Actually, he wouldn't go to waivers because he's played more than 4 years.
Oh,
So,
come on, Cole.
We'll have to sign him.
We'll give a 7th.
That's why we're not getting him.
Give him the rest of our cap space. Well, from the photos that I put just so people know, Jahan Dotson. I put Peyton Hendershot, the tight end from the Cowboys, and I put Jackson Carman, who's a guard / tackle from the Bengals. Jahan Dotson. A lot of people were questioning why is he even in this? Greg Rosenthal put out a report, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, that what he's heard from the Commanders staff, it sounds like Jahan Dotson might not make the team. He was a former 1st-round pick out of Penn State. He's had a shaky career, but it's a receiver. Whenever a receiver is available and they're a well-known name, everyone always attaches the Patriots to them. Do I think that he's going to get cut? No. Even if he did get cut, do I think the Patriots would put in a claim? Maybe they like their young guys and they wouldn't get him. But he was one I threw out. But from the other 2, I would actually really like the idea of Jackson Carman. I know he's had a rough time with the Bengals. I know he was a pretty high pick. I don't know if he was 2nd or 3rd round. But they had him playing in on the interior, and I think he repped a lot at right tackle last season, and he had some good games. So if maybe they pick him up if he comes in and plays good at right tackle, if they throw him out there and then they shuffle the O-line a little bit more, maybe that forces them to put Caden Wallace out at left tackle. I don't know, but he is the one that out of the 3 that I posted, he's someone that I would really like for them to put a claim in if he does get cut.
Cole, you got any of those guys or anyone else that would interest you?
I just kind of an overall viewpoint, looking at offensive line, obviously priority, but I like that you threw a tight end in there because Hunter Henry's hurt right now. Austin Hooper just missed practice today. And then Pat's third tight end, Wilcox, yeah, thank you, just got injured in practice, or he pulled up. I don't know if he did something to hamstring or what happened, but he headed out of practice today as well. So Jaheim Bell stepped up with 3 touchdowns, which is great, but that tight end room is scary if your 2 veterans are getting hurt, and then Wilcox as well. So I think that is something just to keep an eye on, maybe depending on how bad those injuries are. Apparently Hunter Henry's is not serious, but he has missed, I think, about a full week now. So just something to keep an eye on.
And I think another position to kind of keep an eye on would be the edge position, right? If there's any veteran edge rushers, I know that there was reports that Randy Gregory was going to get cut. If you feel like, hey, we do need one more edge rusher or something, or maybe they think that they need another interior defensive lineman because maybe Tristan Hill or those guys haven't really shown them enough, although I think they've been really good. And Armin Watts, maybe you need another veteran. So I'd look for guys like Randy Gregory, one of them, to potentially be someone the Patriots could keep their eye on. But yeah, I mean, when's the last time the Patriots have had this high of a waiver claim? Probably not in a while, right? I mean, they're usually not in this position. So to have this and to be able to say, hey, we're going to go in and we're going to take a look at all these guys that are getting cut and we're probably going to have our pick of the litter, it's pretty exciting because there's usually 4 or 5 guys that are surprise roster cuts that probably were like, holy crap, how did they get to this point? And they'll have a dang good chance at getting one of those guys. So we'll see how it plays out, see how it is there for the Patriots in that situation. So, but that's going to kind of wrap it up. Do you guys got anything else about, whether it's preseason game 2, the Judon trade news, anything else kind of to talk about before we hop off here?
For me, no. We're getting close to the season, so before the season, we have to see who makes the roster. So I'm excited to see about that. I tweeted it out. I'd give it like a day or 2 after cut down day for them to really finalize their roster, because fringe guys that make the roster on cut down day could get cut the very next day for one of those waiver claims. So we'll see how they shape up the team. Hopefully they pick up somebody that's a surprise off waivers, maybe. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Season's almost here.
Few weeks away. We're getting there. But yeah, thank you, Carlos, for hopping on. It was fun. We'll have to do it again for sure. Maybe before the season starts, once the roster's finalized, or throughout the season. But definitely got to have you on again.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys having me on. Definitely. Like I said, I've been watching for a long time, so it's cool to finally be the one talking on here too.
Yeah, I mean, Carlos he's got the best news, like we said. So we feel honored to have him in our chat because he sometimes he breaks news to us while we're live. He'll be like, you hear this or this? And so yeah, we get to hear that and stuff. So, but no, guys, again, if you're on YouTube and you have not, go follow Los Talks Pats on Twitter. Again, it's such up-to-date news. It's such good content. And then if you guys are on Twitter watching from Carlos's page, guys, hop over to YouTube. We're going to have Carlos on more. We'll stream to his Twitter. But if you guys want to stay up to date with our videos when we go live for other things, you guys can hit that subscribe button. And then, of course, use code PATSDRIVE for your first deposit matched on Underdog, and code PatriotsDrive at SeatGeek. Get to some Patriots games or whatever else you wanted. But really fun today. Appreciate it. A week from today, Patriots play their final preseason game, right?
Yep, Sunday against Washington in Washington.
There you go, in Washington. Hopefully, you get a little rookie battle, right? Jaden Daniels, Drake Maye. It'll be a little fun. So, but no, appreciate it, guys. And make sure again you hit that like button if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, we will talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Patriots Drive podcast. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with all things New England Patriots. Make sure you tune in to the next episode and check out patriotsdrive.com for more great content.
7-year, we're on to Cincinnati.